Payments is always a pain point for many companies, so I'm very happy to be here with a bunch of very experienced folk. I would like the guys to introduce themselves and the companies a little bit, and then we take it away.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, my name is Arthur. I'm CEO and founder of Beach Broker Group of companies. So we are liquidity and technology provider. Besides, we also run B2B in Pay. It's our digital cryptocurrency payment gateway. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name's Josh. I'm head of payments at Praxis. And Praxis is a payment orchestration software. We're a technical integrator, and that we've got a lot of features and services that we can assist our merchants with.
Hi, I'm Johnny Cumberlidge, represent BVNK, head up the FX vertical, having worked in the FX industry for my full career, and in July last year took the jump into crypto payments. So we provide, we're really the intersection of digital and traditional assets. We provide a one platform where you can manage both fiat and crypto via OTC trading. We provide a crypto payment processing via an API, so brokers can collect cryptos from their clients, convert it to fiat on account. And also we provide a cross-border crypto solution, collecting in 40 different emerging markets. So that's BVNK.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Przemek. I am a head of business development in Match2Pay. We are a crypto payment processor which offers its services mainly to forex brokers, and our group of companies takes care of different software and financial services for forex and online brokers. Thank you.
Hi everybody, my name is Raphael Tetro. SVP Merchant Services, and I'm dealing with our strategic accounts within Nuvei. Nuvei is a payment processor to some of the world's largest merchants throughout the world. We are, of course, doing payment processing for some of the largest brokers and some of the largest exchanges, and we're dealing with mostly financial services, among many other verticals.
Awesome. Thank you so much for the introductions. And as you guys see, we have quite a varied panel from the traditional players in the industry who offer actually all of the solutions, like payable. And we have some sort of more trendy and tech also solutions, which is really cool to see. So I really hope that the discussion will be of interest to everyone. And I would like to kind of start off from the introduction in general about payments in MENA, what the challenges currently are, and how the industry looks like, right? So I think it's a nice way to set the scene, what to expect, and then we can go a little bit more deeper into each areas. Anyone that would like to take it, please feel free.
Sure. I'll take the first one. And I mean, as Praxis, we're just a technology provider, but we work with hundreds of merchants, and a lot of those merchants target the MENA region. So one of the main challenges we face with brokers, let's say targeting the MENA region, is not having the correct local licensing set up in order to get credit card acquiring, open banking, etc., etc. So company structure and having, let's say, boots on the ground in a GCC country or in a MENA country or in Dubai is critical, and that's a challenge that we see with some of our brokers. But with the solutions we have on stage today, it gives the merchants an opportunity to target this market with a different license that they may have, and kind of do a dipstick test to see if they can operate in this market. They've obviously spent money on marketing, staff, etc., etc. And with the methods up here today, and obviously Nuvei, they can target the region, do, like I said, their tests with it, and then as they grow their share in the market, then they can expand their business as well. But the main challenge for most of our merchants is getting the local entity set up over here. It's quite a fractionalized area with different regulations, different currencies. So yeah, that's one of the main challenges that I see in the area at the moment.
Yeah, I think on top of that, GCC region and Dubai in particular, like UAE, has actually the same exact problem as other countries, like Estonia, Europe, Cyprus, America. That I will be talking about on this challenge from the crypto perspective, and the main challenge everywhere is that every single government is trying to promote and is trying to kind of encourage other companies to come to their country to establish their crypto business. Even they try to issue some regulations in order to attract such crypto companies to run their crypto business. But one of the main challenges that still, nevertheless, that you are able, when you receive the approval or permission license to run your business, but the banks, they are not willing to work and to serve such companies. And GCC has the same problem. In Europe, this problem you can kind of resolve through working by through AMI, because AMI, they kind of take the hit. The banks, they are saying, yeah, we don't serve crypto companies, but they serve AMIs, because for them, the AMI is one company, and this AMI can serve like many crypto companies. And if something happens, the bank says, hey, we don't know, it's them. Like, so they try to mitigate their risk. It's clear, because to run the banking, it requires like tremendous investment, and they just afraid to lose their license, so they try to protect their business. So GCC region, UAE in particular, has exactly the same problems, that the VARA regulation was announced, DFSA was issued also the guideline, the circulation, ADGM as well, they already issued several licenses, but still the banking, the banking institutions, they don't, or let's say they are not willing to cooperate. So I think from my perspective, this is the one of main challenge. And this challenge can only be resolved when the central bank of every country will issue very clear guideline for every single for every single central bank and for every single bank and crypto institution.
I have to agree that regulation plays a big part, but it's also about the fact that how fragmented the payments are in general in these countries. So it's not only about the central banks and the regulatory environment, there, because when you talk about Europe, we have open banking, we have a lot of, solutions that are actually working really, really well. So irrelevant, of the license that you will have, whether it's in Cyprus or anywhere else, you are able to operate. However, here in the region, which I'm sure that also Raphael will take it further, is the fact that you not only that you have to have a license locally, you need to source the payments locally in the country that you are here, right? So you cannot say that, we're going to do open banking and we're going to do open banking for the whole region, which I have to say that the wheels in motion are already there. There are companies who are already gathering, for example, the API. So regulation is one part of the deal, but it's also the actual development of the payments and how do you take it further. But Raphael, maybe you want to add something as well there.
Thank you so much. I couldn't agree more with what you just mentioned. If we take a step back and think about merchants or brokers or crypto exchanges and really drill it down, we're talking about a situation where, unlike Europe, for example, where you just need to have one company registered in Europe, and you can have local payment processing in Europe, worldwide, but you are processing locally in Europe, which you enjoy the lower interchange fees, you enjoy higher success rate. However, how fragmented is the MENA region? So when we're talking about a broker that wants to enter the market, they actually need to set up, and they want to really utilize or really optimize what they can get, whether it's success rate, whether it's local acquiring by you having lower fees. You actually need to set up an entity in each and every country, which is very, very challenging, very, very demanding in terms of resources, costs, and everything associated with it. So I think the biggest challenge is it being so fragmented, like Asia, like other parts of the world, which you don't have, like, for example, in Europe.
Yeah, completely agree. And as I said, I think it's a dual challenge, and it's a completely different landscape. So we really need to focus on the fact that there's two aspects of it. But anyone else wants to add to the question as well?
Yeah, I really like this comparison with EU because let's face it, SEPA and controlling of the costs of the card payments solved almost all payments problems in the entire, let's say, continent. Whereas here, brokers might think it's, especially brokers from Europe, they might think, oh, it's such a great market, one language, almost one culture, I hire few Arabic speakers and everything is great. But then, when they see with payments, they see these problems. There is no SEPA, there is no speed, there is no transparency often. As Raphael mentioned,
Right.
a lot of hassle. And also not every market is worth this hassle, let's face it. So that's why I think it's good for these brokers to understand before they enter that it won't be as easy and as beautiful as in Europe, so they need to search for alternatives in this case.
Yeah, completely agree.
And I think just to add, the population here is extremely tech savvy. I mean, you're looking at 80-90% adoption of mobile phones within the region, and a very young population. Well, there's an undeveloped banking system there with alternatives to digital. So I think that you're going to continue to see an adoption of digital, whether that's traditional or cryptos down the line.
Yeah. And actually, because this is kind of a really correct point, because we talk about payments that are locally available, and then we talk about cross-border. So actually, the way that I see also the industry is that the only way that you can do it is with the help with the cross-border, right? So what kind of challenges do you feel that the cross-border payments have, and let's say how it can be utilized for a region like MENA?
So I'll be happy to answer that question. I think if you really break it down again and make it very basic, I think when you talk about cross-border processing, when you expand and do cross-border processing, you need to realize that there are many different challenges in that front. So the main challenge that you're talking about is that you're not really utilizing or maximizing the approval ratio, the success rate, because at the end of the day, many of the brokers here or any financial services merchant takes a lot in terms of money, time to bring clients to the most critical focal point, which is making a deposit. And there, sometimes merchants feel frustrated because they're talking to the end user. They have money in their card, but they aren't able to process payments. And that is mostly because of cross-border. If you process that payment with a local processor, the likelihood of you having a successful transaction is significantly higher. So this is one critical point, which again, going back to the first question, makes it really hard because this market is so fragmented.
Correct.
Yeah, and I think it touches on the speed and cost of traditional payment rails versus the new digital age, and you're finding that particularly for FX brokers where deposits are the lifeblood of the business, you mentioned the marketing costs to onboard new clients, to have a non-converted client because they can't make a deposit is a real issue for brokers, and I think that's why the alternative payment methods are now gaining much more traction, along with progressive regulation. And those combined with the demand for a service that works, we should see greater opportunities for brokers, particularly in this region, as the regulation evolves, to be able to collect much more deposits. And not just within this region, digital payments open you up to geographies where you would have never have been able to reach in traditional payment methods. So I think that's my point.
And how do you feel crypto helps in this sense from the cross-border payment side? So do you feel that there's a great move towards crypto processing and crypto payments, and to resolve some of the cross-border also issues?
Yeah, so I think you split it into two. If you look at from the client side, you're seeing growing demand for deposits, typically in USDT, instant settlement. If they're covering margin calls, middle of the night, etc., it has great advantages for speed and low cost of execution. So yeah, I mean, there's many providers out there. BVNK is obviously one of them, who provides crypto processing gateway, which can easily integrate it into broker systems to start collecting cryptos and converting it to fiat. So if the brokers doesn't have any appetite to have crypto on the balance sheet, then we would do that automatic conversion for you. So you don't actually need to touch the crypto to benefit from it. And then the second point would be more of kind of operational treasury management, moving money between entities or sweeping PSPs in far out countries where it's difficult to bring money to an entity which is facing perhaps a liquidity provider where traditionally your money is just held up in Indonesia, India, Malaysia, wherever in emerging markets where it's difficult to move this money out. With the crypto cross-border, you have less than 24-hour settlement of your money into entities where they can make use of that money, whether that's covering margin with their liquidity providers or other areas. So there's two benefits for brokers there.
Yeah, and I think it's a very interesting point that you mentioned as well about, I think a lot of the times the clients don't really realize that they are not really touching the crypto, right? Because the way that that you can set it up is you have to look at it as also just as an alternative payment method, right? Which is sort of kind of also nicely tying into our next question is in general about alternative payment methods, right? So do you see any particular growth in specific payment methods, also maybe a slight focus on the MENA, if there's anything that you feel that is happening in the region as well? And we kind of touched a little bit about crypto, which again, from my perspective, I consider it as an alternative payment method also. And for the clients here today, I mean, I think it's important to know that that the way that it can be set up is a very easy way to operate and to get payments from almost anywhere that they want to accept, which I think it's kind of a great resolution for some of the issues that we already covered.
I can take that one. The most exciting part, I'd say, about the alternative payment space at the moment, specifically in UAE, and I think it's just going to spread with the countries coming together, but it's open banking, where the banks are allowing guys to make a deposit, log on to their banking, they can choose their bank account, and the deposit goes through. It's still really new in this market, but with the cooperation between each country, there's a project called Amber Project, started in 2018 between Saudi Arabia and UAE, but that's mainly on a digital currency space. But it's a good insight and a good feel that these countries are willing to work together. I see this region growing into a single region like the European Union, where these banks are all connected, and it just allows these merchants to make instant payments to the brokers. And I mean, there's challenges in this space at the moment with using crypto in the form of a C2B leg, also a B2B leg in the form of settlements where crypto comes into play instantly, where brokers can get settlements in USDT straight away. There's speed, there's transparency, the costs are low, but open banking is going to grow, I believe. And the interesting thing is you look at a more developed market like Europe, they kind of cards, open banking, more APMs, and then into crypto. So now when we're in a stage where we really advanced in, like you mentioned earlier, in the mobile phone take-up and tech take-up, you've got crypto, which a lot of people are getting familiar with, and now you're getting that jump almost from cash to cards, and now it's like, what is going to happen next? Is open banking going to be the traditional next step? Or is crypto, like you mentioned, are the regulators and the banks going to jump on board and see a shift, not actually to the traditional flow we see in more developed markets, but a different approach that we haven't seen yet. So that's really exciting.
Cool.
Yeah. May I add? I consider personally stable coins as a very strong alternative payments. Why? You may say that stable coins, it's also crypto. Yes, it is, but when we launched B2B in Pay, it was 2017. So exactly, it's not still 5 years because we have launched B2B in Pay September 2017. And since that time, I remember when we launched the platform, the first clients, they were using for the settlement mostly of the Bitcoin, ETH, and any other coins. Now, I would say more than 90% of the flow, it's stable coins. So, and the stable coins, why they became so popular? Just because they eliminate all those mentioned problem about of the cross borders, fast settlement, no rolling reserve, no chargebacks. And I think, to be honest, guys, because of the banks and because of the very tough banking regulation that started putting a lot of pressure on the financial industry, without crypto, the high-risk business, yeah, because even the regulated brokers, they fall under the high-risk business, they wouldn't survive. Because now, if you take a look on the turnover of the stable coins, I think more than 50%, even the 70% of those turnover volumes, it's all about financial industry, high risk, gambling, gamblers, forex, and all other kind of companies. So that's why I personally call stable coins as alternative payments, but the stable coin also has one kind of disadvantage that, don't forget, that stable coin is still centralized token based on decentralized blockchain, which means there is the issuer who can potentially may block any of your transaction. And how many cases already we saw and how many cases we will see. Of course, I know now everyone is trying to move from USDT to USDC because it's a regulated stable coin like BUSD, which is controlled by Paxos. They have also their own USDP. So it's all centralized stable coins, regardless of it's regulated or not.
Yeah, look, I will agree that, all of the payment methods have a place, right? But ultimately, you still have a problem that you will have to deal with regulation and with fiat in general, right? And if you talk about merchants, if you talk about clients, right? So I think it's not completely correct to say that stable coins completely resolves the issue. At least this is my, personal, opinion, because ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not a form of payment that is accepted globally and that you can utilize the payment, because it's also about the fact, you get the money in, but also you have to utilize the funds, right? And the companies have to utilize the funds, right? So you will still run into the issues that, you still have to utilize the funds. You still have to have banks involved, ultimately, which is you still kind of go in circle. But also one very interesting thing that you mentioned as well about open banking, I completely agree that I think as a concept is really something that will grow, and we have seen in MENA that this is growing, and there are companies who are already, as you mentioned, that are collecting the APIs. I don't know how long it will take, for all of the countries, to be joined, but again, open banking as a concept is a great way because, it moves money from bank to bank in a very efficient way if the APIs are done, properly. Maybe, guys, you also want to expand on that before we move on to the few last questions.
Actually, I would like to add on stablecoin. I agree it is a very good solution. And especially here in MENA, we shouldn't forget that in some, if not many of the markets differ here. There are markets with very good banking systems, but there are markets which don't have pegged currency to dollar. They have weak currencies. They have weak banking system where local people don't trust it. If people trust more stablecoin than banks, that's the solution to which brokers should go as well. And I would say this market shows is the best. And on the top of that, we shouldn't forget also about classical crypto, especially like classical, like Bitcoin, Ether, because we speak about online trading. Trading crypto is also one of the assets which they trade. So we can see the moves. Now again, maybe Bitcoin will be rising. Maybe these people will try to utilize these gains in order to trade Forex. So if the Forex broker forgets about this payment method in their mix, they might miss out quite a lot of funds which are accumulated by those traders who are waiting for another peak.
Yeah, I agree. Anyone else want to add?
Yeah, that's actually a good point and something that's been on my mind for a while. And we know that brokers' back ends just, typically run off dollars, euros, and pounds. And what will the future look like by way of crypto? And will you be able to have a base currency of USDT, or will you be able to cross-collateralize with the assets you're trading on the crypto side with fiat as well? So become a truly multi-asset broker. To have that capability would be really appealing for traders. But we've got a long way to go by way of regulators and banking for brokers to become comfortable with holding large amounts of crypto on the balance sheet.
Yeah, I think we all agree that that there's good movement, and I think good alternative payment options out there, but it still needs some work in order to become more mainstream as well.
May I just add short comment? Actually, I think, when we launched the B2B in Pay, it was only 5 companies, I think, like BitPay, BitGo, B2B in Pay, like 2 more, I don't remember. So now I see, I don't know how many crypto processing companies, and I think they are launching almost every week, I guess. So, but the thing is, why I'm happy about this, because that's actually all these companies lead us all together to the day when you will be able to buy your coffee from coffee shops through crypto. And that day is going to be the day when we will say that we don't need to try to find a way how to exchange crypto or stable coins through fiat.
Absolutely. And each payment method, when it's basically developed or goes in the market, it goes through stages of acceptance, right? Even if you take open banking is still in infant stages, even in Europe, right? Even though that we consider that it's already quite advanced, right? So if you talk about, the acceptance and the flexibility of making payments in crypto in general, we have a bit of a way to go, And with open banking, you already have terminals that, accept account-to-account, payments. So, it's baby steps in a way. And again, each region and each country has also its challenges, right? So, but the good thing is, I suppose, and also something that, that the audience has to take is that there are options and they are growing and they're developing, I think, in the right, way. But it all also depends on the regulation and on the regulatory side, that surrounds, the payment options and the acceptance, the general acceptance of the actual, payment method.
Can I just add one tiny comment? So, as my colleague here mentioned, that every new week there's a new company that offers crypto payments. Also important to mention that also some of the traditional payment processors, such ourselves, such as our competitors, also embracing this as an alternative payment methods. But at the very same time, as we cater and service over 50,000 merchants, we still see that we're just doing baby steps. Not everybody are of course, shifting towards crypto payments, and it's a process. It's going to take some time. More and more merchants are embracing it, but obviously not going to take over card processing, bank transfers, etc.
Yeah, correct. I completely agree, and we are sort in this sort of as we discussed in the old school guys kind of league where we offer all alternative payment options and we consider everything that comes out in the market. We also evaluate what's the security also for the clients, and when it's ready we offer it, right? But also I think a nice point that we're sliding into is that we talk about also the fact that there are a lot of payment service providers, there are a lot of payment processing companies for crypto, there's a lot of payment options. I would like to sort of go into more of advice kind of a discussion to the merchants, how to select a payment service provider, how to check, what is the best, option for them to process, and how to structure basically their payments in general. I think we all have a very different perspective because of the backgrounds, that we have, but I think any advice would be really welcome for the audience.
May I begin? Actually, I have one, many crypto processing payment companies, they really underestimate one simple thing. Because right now, there is, let's call it like kind of wild regulation of the crypto payments. Nevertheless, that there is MiCA in place, but still. So many of the companies, especially the startups, they think that the banks cannot do crypto payments, really, or they're not enough educated to hire like a bunch of developers to develop the same stuff. Not, of course not. So that's why it's really we feel very good now ourselves, especially like crypto processing companies, just because of the banking, the banks in particular, they are not still in this business. As the day when the regulation will become common, not on the level of the authorities, but on the level of the central banks and European commissions and like GCC commissions, whatever, like high-level regulation, at that day, the bank will become the competitors. And they don't need to really do something because they already have all these clients. And to them, to implement these merchant solutions for the crypto, it's nothing. It's just 1 second. Because what all they will need to do just to switch the numbers between the accounts without any kind
so
of processing.
what is your advice then for the merchants?
Yeah, advice for the merchants how to choose. Look, my approach is very simple, and I would advise to do the same. You have to have, no matter what you use, if despite the fact that we are talking about like technology or payments, you have to have at least 2 providers. That's it. So take a look on the transparency, regulation, stability, and consider like to have a backup. That's it. So for example, you take B2B in Pay, then you take, I don't know, let's say BVNK, right? So, and you have 2 providers. Maybe BVNK has some coins that, for example, B2 Broker or B2B in Pay doesn't. So that's how you can structure your payments. So that's why advice is simple. Just take the best and use also how a backup. That's it.
So basically, I mean, crypto, I appreciate like the future of crypto and when the banks, all that sort of stuff, but that's the future, and this is now, and crypto is still very relevant to all brokers out there, either in a C2B leg or a B2B leg in the form of settlements. So, but the practical steps that we use at Praxis, obviously we're a technology company, but we see the trends and the volumes that our merchants, where they process, how they process. So your solution, I would say, is Praxis by default, but I won't go there. So basically, our approach is looking at a market, looking at the most popular methods in that market, and not only just picking a PSP based on how well they're doing from a processing volume point of view, and it applies to the crypto solutions up here and also to Nuvei, is service thereafter. You might have a solution that you're feeding your deposits in, you can't get hold of your PSP, you're not getting the settlements on time, and there's issues that come up. So it's the amount of volume they do, the pricing, it is important, but it shouldn't be a deal breaker for any of the brokers out there. If you've got a solution that's 1.5% more than another solution, but they come with better service, better customer care, go for the more expensive solution because they're going to be more trusted in your region. So I would say price, the volumes they're doing, and the settlement times that they're going to provide you as a merchant, and also diversifying. Use the crypto where you can. Use APMs in certain countries where they're most popular, and localize those methods. So when a Saudi Arabian checks out, you present them Saudi options. When they check out from UAE, you present them UAE options. So it's all about localizing the payment methods to make it native to your end client. So that's a practical step, I would say, is to just study your market, consult with some payment professionals, and make use of all the payment methods out there. And you mentioned as well, 1, 2, 3, and once you get that across, say, credit cards, APMs, cryptos, I mean, some merchants go 20, 30 PSPs deep to build that redundancy, to make sure that they've got options. It's a high-risk industry at the end of the day. Unfortunately, MIDS solutions either go down temporarily or permanently. You need to have that backup. You need to have that layering. So that's some advice from my side.
Thank you for that.
Okay, so just to pick up on Artur's comment on whether banks are a threat to digital payment companies, crypto companies, I think like with anything, banks could go into many different avenues, but it's common knowledge that they're always behind the curve on innovation, and I think what the crypto market's done is shown that we can deliver experience and service. So I don't see them as a threat just yet, and that moves on to my point on the experience side. I think when you're choosing, and I've been in the FX industry, I've been on the broker side, both with retail and institutional. I understand what clients want by way of service of getting a deposit in, making sure it's processed, settled, etc., and withdrawal process. So I've been in this business for 6 months, and I've seen across the market there is a broad range of providers, but one thing is service seems to be lacking in many, whether that's just underfunding departments or just not having the resource, and two, the investment in technology. So I would look for a company who has investment to further develop their technology, looking for someone to add more regulation. Regulation is important, and you must be looking for a crypto provider to continue on their journey with that. And just on your point there, Joshua, I think price hasn't really come into the question so much in the negotiations that I've come across. FX brokers are looking for a reliable solution where if they need you, you're there. And that you've got open channels and dialogues with every angle of your business, and price has not been a key buying consideration as far as I'm concerned.
I agree.
I would say also that if a particular broker or group of companies wants to enter MENA, you should just follow your strategy, general growth strategy when you choose your payment mix. So for example, if you want to focus on seasoned traders, you want to have very good offer, very good swaps, these people know how to pay. These people are on the market for many years. They will even send with SWIFT. Probably crypto for them will be better because of the speed. And that's another thing which we should not forget. If you feel that particular market is good for you, go for local payments, but then complement it with local trainings, local presence, marketing. Don't go with local payments if you don't have anything there, because you might end up spending too much money on particular market which is not promising enough. And speaking of speed, I think it's also very important to choose, especially in crypto space, not only by price. Focus on support, focus on the speed of support, focus how fast they will handle your ticket, or is it ticket or chat, because it's online trading. Collateral is important. If you don't have it on time, it doesn't matter if you have crypto. If your support doesn't answer to you for 2 days, that's it. The client is burned, and the bad feeling is there forever.
For me, to answer that question of what I would suggest to any merchant or broker or exchange out there, to me, the answer is rather simple. For me, it's about solutions. Many of the brokers here just don't have the time, resources to invest into integrating to multiple payment providers. Just a headache. So what they need to keep in mind, in my humble opinion, is to make sure that you sign or partner with a provider that is able to tick the tick boxes that you need. So if it's local payment processing in the MENA region, whether it's Europe, whatever it might be, whether it's cards, whether it's open banking, whether it's crypto processing, you need to come with all of that in mind and consider also one more thing about your future expansion. You might be processing payments in the MENA region today, but you're also expanding to Latam, for example. So also have that in mind. And bottom line, just look for somebody who will be able to cater and service you with all of your immediate needs and also with your future expansion in mind. That, with the help of providers which offers that, or through payment orchestrators, I think that will be the best mix to bring and the best idea to consider.
Cool, thank you so much. And I have to say that I agree with all of you. And my advice is usually always the same. Don't leave the payments as an afterthought. So payments is a crucial part of any business. And yes, I mean, first of all, I think my advice in general is that the company needs to know where they're going, what the target is, which countries they're going after, right? And then you go from there, right? So what is it available? What kind of partners? Choose a partner that is reliable, that has a good reputation, right? Whether it would be a crypto processing or whether it would be an overall payment service provider that has, all of the options in place. But it will also highly depend on the countries and on the area, or on the regions basically where you're targeting, right? So from my side, to do the homework, to really know what you're after, to do the comparison also from the payment service provider part, and of course, if you can get more payment options from one. Of course, it's always a better choice, at least from my side. Or also to choose, providers who are actually focusing on something very specific, right? So whether it would be just local payment methods or whether it's crypto processing or whatever it is. But really, thank you so much. I hope that it was insightful for the audience. And since we are the last session, so we have time for questions. If anyone wants to ask anything from any of us here, please feel free to do so. If no, then we close it with a closing picture.
Hello. So I think the main problem that facing cryptocurrencies is valuation for cryptocurrencies. We are not familiar with how to make the fair value of any cryptocurrency without any asset back behind it. So is there any other solution or alternative or new technique for make scientific valuation for cryptocurrencies? Thank you.
I'll let the crypto folks answer that, no?
Yeah, I mean, I can sort of start off because it depends, because I'm kind of looking at the question from both sides, even though I'm not a crypto person, right? Because if you're talking crypto processing and if you're talking about crypto payments in general, the valuation of the crypto doesn't really matter that much, right? Because on the time of the transaction, and for you as a client who would receive ultimately fiat, the price is fixed at the time, and actually the user is paying for whatever the variation at the time is. Now, for anything else, maybe the guys can cover from there.
Yeah, we, for example, offer like two solutions. For example, if you are crypto broker and you allow your users to open account denominated in cryptocurrencies, let's say Bitcoin and USDT. So in this case, you have two options. The first one, you can accept the Bitcoin from the users and you credit those Bitcoins to their trading account. Then potentially you can take a risk on your side because the P&L of that account will be evaluated in Bitcoin. At the same time, you can hold these funds in Tether or just euro dollars, but the P&L of the users will be in Bitcoin, and your liabilities towards to those users will be in Bitcoin. So that's why we offer for the companies, for crypto brokers and for exchanges, the enterprise solution, which in particular gives you through one API access to all the tokens and blockchains, and where you don't need to do real exchange, because in that case you keep the collaterals at the same currencies in order to eliminate this currency risk when the client has a P&L in Bitcoin and you have a USD. But for merchants, and especially for the forex brokers, and especially for regulated brokers who cannot, according to their regulation, offer you trading accounts denominated in Bitcoin, so they issue only fiat denomination currencies like dollar, euro, GBP. So in that case, you can use merchant, where you even literally do not touch crypto. Everything automatically converts to fiat currencies.
Yeah, and just to add on that, when you're looking for advice for looking or selecting a payment provider, you're looking for one that can do that conversion into fiat. For brokers, not many that I'm talking to, if any, are holding cryptos on their balance sheet. So the point here is that all of it is converted into fiat, typically euros, pounds, or dollars, and then you don't have that P&L or risk of client P&L versus dollars, which is typically what brokers operate in.
I hope that covers the question. Anyone else from the audience?
Hi, that's a very insightful panel, first of all, so thank you for all the info. But I noticed that there's been about crypto, right? About crypto payments, crypto and so on. I wanted to ask if you could shed some light on some other, payment methods that are being popular in MENA region and used by brokers and the clients based in the region. What else is there except crypto? Because, still, when we speak about crypto, it's still a fraction after all. So yes, brokers are getting into that. They know there is future and so on. But yet, if you look at broker base, for example, in Emirates, they don't really to it because central bank is being so about that, so they don't want to 100% go for that. What else is there besides crypto? If you could maybe shed some light on that.
Look,
What are the trends and so on?
Sure. I mean, I think one of the trends we did cover, which is open banking, and I'm not sure Raphael will add a little bit more to that. In general, if you look at payments, you can still say that a lot of the region is covered by cards, right? But there is peculiarities, let's say, in each country with the acceptance of the cards and the approval rates and the type of the regulation, you know, that the broker has, let's say, in individual countries, right? So we're coming back to that. All of the payment options that are available elsewhere, they are available here. There's wallets, there's all sorts of things, right? But it comes down and boils down to what is accepted to the brokers and where are they regulated, right? So if you say now, okay, let's work in the region, yes, you can do cards, you can do cashew, you can do multiple payment options that there are, but it will also depend, from where you are regulated, how you are set up, and what can you do? And I truly believe that the biggest trend in the region, apart from, there was a lot of discussion, as you mentioned, about crypto, will be open banking. And it is happening now, right? There's plenty of companies. Last year, we had also discussion on open banking. And there was providers here that are already accumulating, the APIs, in the region and all of this kind of stuff. So there is a trend, to move, there. But no one's saying that the regular payments don't exist. They all exist. But there might be issues with the acceptance, with the approval rates, and which countries are allowed for certain countries. So I don't know whether, Raphael, you want to add?
So to answer that question, I think today we service over 50,000 merchants. We process close to $130 billion a year in terms of processing. And a substantial fraction of it comes from the MENA region. Now, if I need to basically split the payment methods that we see that our merchants are using, then we're talking about still great dominance of cards, still. Then we're talking about open banking. We have SWIFT, and also growing traction coming from crypto. There are some local payment methods that are must in the MENA region, like Faraway in Egypt and a few others. So again, when we offer 600 different payment methods today, I have to say that this specific region is not yet developed, as we're talking about LATAM, as we're talking about Europe and others, but you still can find specific payment methods that are specific to each and every country within the region. But I have to say that still you should be expecting a great dominance coming from cards, bank transfers, and then you have local payment methods, and then you also have crypto.
Yeah, completely agree on that. Unfortunately,
may
there's no
I add just here, actually answering to your question, every country, okay, not every country, but for example, Hong Kong, they have their own system. It's called like FPS. Literally, it takes to transfer from any bank to any other local bank or brokerage account, like 1 second to transfer, like one transaction has a limit, 3 million Hong Kong dollars, which is around $400,000, without any kind of notification or like confirmation or something. Even for some transactions, you can add payee and immediately execute transactions. Some of the banks, they implement this rule like you need to wait 24 hours, but mostly of them in Hong Kong, they don't. So what I'm trying to say here, that for example, in Hong Kong, it doesn't make sense to have any other kind of payment systems because FPS works to the extent when no one, any other payment system will be able to replace this FPS. UK, by the way, has the same, like faster payments.
Yeah,
Europe has instant SEPA, but not many merchants use this instant SEPA because there are some I don't know why actually, but
It's because not all banks are enabled for instant SEPA. That's one thing. And also because if you're talking about open banking and collection of funds, for open banking, the account that the funds are being collected to is also have to be instant SEPA.
I see.
So if that is not done, then it's not a full circle and you do not have it. But you're right that a lot of the countries, and also if you take Brazil, it's the same thing, right? So everyone, or at least the majority of large countries have a similar system where the bank-to-bank transfer is instant, right? But caution here is that still regulation and AML controls apply from bank to bank, right? So the fact is that maybe it's more free in Hong Kong. That doesn't mean that it's very free in let's say in UK. Yes, in UK you can send payments via faster payments, no problem. And there's also, I think, whatever 400,000 limit. But again, when you will come to the bank that will have to credit the funds, or the other way around, you will still have to do the same, let's say, checks, that you would normally do, right? So the speed, the technology is there. But again, that's sort of, we're tripping on the same thing, right? The regulatory and the compliance and the AML will always play a part, right? Because it's a movement of funds, right? But yeah, coming to this region, we just don't have something that is kind of joining everyone together, right? But the idea is that if each country joins all the APIs improve, the banks get better at it, the chances are that open banking will become a very big deal in the region. This is at least the prediction, and this is where it's going. So hopefully that will become true.
yeah, definitely, and the local banks, especially in BD. So if you have account here and you deal with broker regulated by SCA or DFSA, so they do have like also their ENBD bank account or whatever other UAE accounts, and in UAE there is for dirhams the same system.
And I think, well, given the answers to the question and how complex and the limits in place in traditional banking, why the conversation is hinged so much around crypto and in particular blockchain for payments. It's a new age that we're moving into, and it's long needed.
Sorry.
Also, you cannot not touch it when you have crypto processing companies on the panel as well. So, right, you guys have also an opinion about it. So it's the future for sure. One way or another, it will stay, and we have to talk about it.
Sorry, just to answer your question, I mean, we see the traffic as Praxis as a payment orchestration system. Credit cards, like you said, very popular. It's still quite a cash-heavy area. So vouchers are very popular as well, where guys can go to the stores that the vouchers are affiliated with. They pay their however much they want to deposit, redeem it online. So that's a very popular method and a very legitimate method to do business, especially in this region in Saudi Arabia. But again, regulation is important, very important, but there's a variety of providers out there that can service you.
Just talk to your payment service provider and choose the best one. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope that it was interesting. And if anyone wants to talk to any of us after, please feel free to do so. Thank you so much.
Thank you.